Before we get started, I want to thank our first partner, Response Ready Medical. Response Ready Medical, bringing our customers the best quality training and equipment for the worst case scenario. Response Ready Medical's vision is to be the leading provider of emergency preparedness solutions across the United States, empowering communities, organizations, and individuals to respond confidently and preserve life during critical moments. Offering same-day certification, all Response Ready Medical classes are instructed by nationally registered and state-licensed firefighter, paramedics, law enforcement officers, and hospital staff. Classes currently being offered by Response Ready Medical include CPR and AED, CPR, AED, and first aid, emergency trauma care, child and babysitting safety, CABS, backcountry medicine, and wilderness first aid. Your premium partner in emergency preparedness, Response Ready Medical. Welcome to the Pursuing Freedom Outdoors podcast, a place where backcountry warriors can share their stories of grit, service, healing, and wilderness adventures. I'm your host, Tom Walton, Marine Corps veteran, full-time cop, and aspiring hunting and fishing guide. Join me and others as we journey from the hood to the woods in pursuit of freedom in the outdoors.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely picking me up right now. So
Check. We got a good sound?
Yep, I see you on there. So this is good enough because I can amplify in editing too. Okay. So anyways, once again, hey everybody, thanks for listening to the Pursuing Freedom Outdoor podcast. Just got done recording a great episode with Nate Harder from Protectors Peak. You guys will get to listen to that the week before this one drops. But I'm also joined this morning by John Wiek from Northwest Spur Chasers. Great friend of mine who you guys got introduced on an earlier episode. If you haven't listened to it, definitely need to go back and listen to it just to get introduced to John and what he's all about and Northwest Spur Chasers. He's going to be a frequent guest because we're definitely going to have a lot of turkey hunting stuff that we're going to talk about as spring nears us again. But John, thanks for being here this morning and spending some time with me.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And I was privileged to listen to that podcast that you put together with Nate from Protectors Peak. And I got to tell you, folks, it's a genuine thing. There's so much to it. I'm really excited to hopefully get to be a part of it and help out wherever I can as well. But an amazing individual Nate is, and what an amazing camp. I can't say enough about it.
Yeah, it's really a great organization, and it's doing great, amazing things, changing lives for sure, for both in the first responder world and the veteran world. So I'm excited to be a part of that. And a little bit of foreshadowing, it's more likely than not that our next turkey camp that we do, which will be our sixth camp that you and I have done together, will be at Protectors Peak and in partnership with them. So I think that's going to be fantastic. I can't wait for that as that comes together and to talk about it, plan it, and ultimately execute that camp. It'll be great.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Idaho's epic enough, but the fact that this camp is in Idaho and what they do and being a faith-based orientation, we put all that together and what they stand behind, it's going to be epic. I can't wait to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And if lucky hunters tag out early, that's probably not too early in the year to have some opportunity to do some good fishing too there on the Upper St. Joe River. So it's just going to be a good time all together. Speaking of fishing, it's kind of why we decided to have a chat today, just because you and I both had some epic late summer fishing adventures. I got to go out to the Bighorn River in Montana to the Sweetwater Travel Company's guide school, and you guys got to hear a lot about that already on a previous episode where I talked to a bunch of my fellow students from the guide school. We're going to have the director, Corey, on once he's kind of done running the show there in October, which is tomorrow. But by the time you guys get to listen to him, it'll be a ways out. But we're going to talk to Corey about that. But that was just a great time. Lots of great fishing, lots of great learning, and that was fly fishing focused school, and just directed at learning how to be a fly fishing guide, upping your angling game, becoming a better fly angler. We had casting classes that taught you how to cast better and also taught you how to instruct fly casting. every day we were on the river catching rainbows and browns, and just a really fun week. And it was about 90% veterans in that class because they take the GI Bill. So, it was a good time. But while I was doing that, at the exact time I was doing that, John, you were out on the open ocean doing some fishing of your own, right?
Absolutely. I mean, no, I was supposed to be a part of that camp that Tom went to. I was definitely all in to be a part of it. I had to give up our annual deep sea fishing trip with my good buddy Bruce Whalen. I passed and went on a deep sea fishing trip to fill the freezer. So,
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. And what's I think kind of fun about what I wanted to do today is just that two different worlds of fishing, right? River fly fishing versus deep sea fishing. Completely different tackle, completely different fish, completely different end goal, right? Like we were catch and release fly fishing. Not that some of those hogs that we caught, especially those big rainbows, they definitely made me hungry. I was drooling, but
beautiful fish.
Yeah, it was catch and release, but I guarantee you those big rainbows would taste amazing and put some nice fillets on the smoker. But we were there for catch and release, and they're in a learning environment too, which is pretty cool. Whereas conversely, you were out legitimately filling your freezer because you're catching pounds and pounds of delicious fish. So, just kind of from the beginning, John, what did you do on this trip, and give a little background on how you got involved with the fella that you go out with?
Well, Bruce has been a good friend now for some years, and typical of what I always say, that social media is both a pro and a con in life, and a double-edged sword. But the best part about it is, getting to meet other great people. And so I would never want to turn down, my time on social media just because of the amazing people that I've met over the years, like you, Tom, and others as well. And Bruce Whalen is definitely one of those great turkey hunters who reached out to me in the past. He's a wingbone call maker as well, and many other things. He's a wealth of knowledge, just a really good-hearted man, ex-military, works on a military contract regarding the submarines. I won't say too much more than that. But Bruce is a great fisherman also. And he reached out to me some time back because they're always trying to put a select amount of people on his boat, people that he can go and spend 5 days with, day and night, suffering on the ocean and having a good time with. And so I got that invitation, I'd say 3-4 years ago, when I went on the first deep sea fishing trip with him. And, the trip out there alone, going across the state of Washington, is just absolutely gorgeous. But going to Bruce's house, loading up all the gear, he's got a Sea Ray with a 350 IO motor in it, kicker on the back, and Bruce is geared up for deep sea. He's got all the proper radar on it, everything you could ever want to be safe. He is a meticulous person of backup gear as well. We've gone out there and had a lot of difficult times, because things go bad with the motor. Bruce always seems to have 2 parts of everything standing by. So, this was I would call it our 4th annual trip out, and getting over there and then getting all the way out to Nia Bay. We always find a small little place to crash for the night. Bruce always sleeps on the boat to make sure equipment doesn't walk away. And, the time out there is just amazing.
That's awesome. So for listeners that aren't familiar, you're going out, obviously, this is deep sea, so you're out on the ocean, and you referred to Nia Bay. I mean, I obviously know where Nia Bay is, and I'm sure a lot of people do. It's a pretty iconic area for deep sea fishing, especially in the Pacific Northwest. But can you just give us a little bit of orientation to Nia Bay and where that is in the United States?
Yeah, absolutely. So, on the coast of Washington, if you look at a map, you'll see the furthest point, and on the opposite side of the inlet, you're looking at Canada. So you're as far out as you need to be. Nia Bay is extremely protected. It's a great place. If you're looking to do any deep sea fishing, that is the place to go and start of. You're going to get out to the best waters, the deepest waters. You're going to get into lingcod, you're going to get into halibut, and you're going to catch your salmon on the way back in, or just right out in front of the mouth. If you just want to catch salmon, they're right there. So Nia Bay is the place to start from. And I know you were asking me, like who is a good person. Like I know Bruce, we're friends. Obviously, You're not going to jump on Bruce's boat. But if you're looking for someone to help you get out there with great success, I'll throw out a name. Fred Walker of Sea Walker Charters. He's a friend of Bruce. And Fred Walker, from those charters, of Sea Walker Charters, he knows every best place to go to, no matter how far out, whether you're going for tuna, whether you're going for big lings, or if you're going for halibut. That's the boat to jump on if you want to look for a charter.
That's awesome. And I can't speak for this guy personally, but I know that I've taken deep sea charters, fishing charters in general, and a lot of times you might be able to get some military discounts, but the best way to save money on those charters is to book with a group.
Yeah.
That'll, and split the boat cost. That'll usually save money. And I don't know prices off the top of my head, but I can tell you guys, from my working man salary and standpoint, and having, my spouse not wanting me to break our bank on all the hobbies I do, usually it's not as expensive as you would think to go out and get on one of these charters. And generally, you're going to come back with pounds and pounds of fish that'll make it more than worth it. So if you don't know somebody that's already doing it, which is probably the majority of people listening right now, a chartered trip is really not bad. You can get your airline tickets to Washington. You're going to get your fishing license, your your saltwater endorsement or license, and then you're going to get to go, just get like an Airbnb or local motel somewhere up near Nia Bay. There's plenty of options for places to stay, or bring a camper if you're driving. And it's really more affordable than you would think, and you're gonna come home generally with a pretty decent amount of fish, and a variety of fish at that.
Yeah, the end of August is a great time period to focus on. They usually always have the halibut open, and it's one halibut a day, and a lot of times you can do 4 total, because the halibut are doing really good. 2 salmon a day as well. So that's pretty easy to get a hold of, not an issue. They're so saturated out there. It's a matter of ciphering through all of the wild ones to find the ones that you can keep without a adipose fin. At the same time, lingcods, in the realm of 20 pounds are easy to find if you're going out with the right boats. And that's why I'm pushing the boats I am. Because you're looking at a charter where you're going to take basically 5 people on a boat in a very more personalized trip of going out 47 miles roughly, fishing in 400 to 700 feet of water. And that's the kind of charter you really want, because it's worth spending maybe a little bit more on that than a larger party boat, which are easy to get on. You tend to be in much smaller fish. You're not going out as far. You're still going to catch fish, but it's not going to be the experience that you could have with whales around you everywhere, surrounded by really good quality fish and much bigger fish on these better charters.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I want to get into. You're talking about whales and the experience. So, you guys met up on day one, and what is one when you go out? What species are you targeting, and maybe what kind of tackle are you using and equipment versus somebody that's going, bass fishing or, trout fishing in their local lake. Obviously, this isn't a fly fishing operation. And just what does the operation look like, and share, kind of the adventure aspect of how this looks.
So a typical day in doing this fishing trip, I'll give you exactly what happens. And it'd be basically the same on any of these smaller charter boats. So you're going to get there in the dark, starting out dark 30 in the morning. You're going to head out at the very first light. And the best part about these boats, properly equipped, just like Bruce's, is they have full radar on. And it's the kind where you can look and see every ship that's out ahead of you. And this was a great example this year. We're going out in solid fog. You couldn't see 20 yards in front of the boat. Dead thick. But, with the proper radar and systems on there showing identification, we're looking at boats on left and right of us cruising. We're looking at boats that are in front of us, boats behind us. We can see the large ships coming in by name, how fast they're moving, what they're doing, how they're tracking. And that's what you want to have, is that kind of a system. There's a lot of guys going out on smaller boats that are going to run in dark. So it's very dangerous in that regard. You can't see what's in front of you as far as junk in the water either. Mm-hmm. So we're going out at the time where you're all staring through the window, trying to see what's right in front of the boat at the same time, knowing you're not about to run into somebody. And it happens out there. So, I would definitely assess the equipment of the boat that you're going to get on, make sure that these people have what they need to have, and that's another reason why I'm pointing you in a certain direction. But typical morning, so you get on the boat, they're all geared up. Bruce is always geared up. I had my own stuff this year because I'll tell you, the last 3 years, reeling up from 400 to 700 feet down, which, we're doing with hand reeling, on a fish that weighs, 40 pounds or better, that's a lot of work.
No
So, it's physically demanding. You're even though your rod is attached to the side of the boat, you're still doing everything, holding on to it. The weight of the fish is against you all the time. And after 2 or 3 fish, you're about burned out.
That's crazy. So when you get on the boat and you guys get everything geared up, what kind of attire and gear? Because it's Washington. I'm assuming It might have rained on you guys out there. And, what kind of clothing and gear do you need, and just for that aspect, as far as the weather and moisture and stuff like that? Obviously, you're on a boat in the ocean, so it's wet.
Oh yeah, so you can totally expect you're going to be wet. Everything's wet. You get there, everything's soaking wet and dripping. The gear has always been washed down with fresh water to make sure salt's not ruining anything. And basically we're wearing full bibs, rubber waterproof bibs. You're going to have rubber boots on, guaranteed all the time too. And usually a windbreaker and a light sweatshirt and another shirt underneath that is sufficient, because as the sun does come up, if it does, you're going to start shedding stuff on top. But as far as your lower parts, you're always going to be in a good pair of rubber bibs, which is really important. We have our own gear, obviously. We're geared up personally because it's not a charter boat. But charters are pretty good at supplying that for you. And so the run out in the morning is, it's pretty harsh because you're going out roughly 40 plus miles. And depending on the wave conditions, the height of the waves, the spacing of the waves is going to dictate the speed of the boat. This year was amazing, though. We had flat water. I would call it flat water as much as you can ever hope to see. So we were running 35 miles an hour all the way out, which was fantastic. I would say in years past, we're dealing with 4 to 5 foot swells, short spaces in between, trying not to get airborne, running at 5 miles per hour max.
Oh, man.
So
that would take you a long time to get 40 miles out running that slow.
Yeah, you're looking at hours of time to get out, typically, and trying to not be airborne, keep the equipment on board, tolerate the jarring landings, and trying not to be seasick.
Say, what are folks doing that you're with for seasickness, and what might an outfitter tell you to do?
They pretty much tell you a plan for seasickness. So they won't tell you specifically because it's different for everybody. And, for myself personally, I'm still 62 years old, never been seasick. I've come to the edge of it. And on these trips especially, I don't take anything. I'll wear the pressure points that you can put on your wrist. They're wristbands. And you can look those up. There's many different types. Some are electronic, where it'll put a pulse on your wrist with a pressure point, so it kind of suppresses the ability of getting seasick. Because personally, I don't like taking the drugs that are out there and the different things that you can take to help you. It tends to make you very drowsy, doesn't keep you sharp, and it kind of dulls the whole experience.
Right, and that'd be like Dramamine is a big one that I've seen people take and heard of.
Yeah.
I know when I've been fishing on the ocean, I'm kind of with you. I didn't necessarily get seasick. I didn't throw up.
Right.
I definitely had moments where I felt like I was getting closer.
Yeah.
On the edge of seasickness, I've had friends that have turned quite literally green.
Oh, yeah.
And so it is a thing. And same thing when we left port for the first time when I went overseas in the Marine Corps on a ship. I got kind of queasy, went and had to take a nap. Then I never got seasick again, but I had seen when we hit big storms, Marines and sailors, mostly Marines, getting sick in some of the bigger swells. But That being said, there are ways to work with it. Typically, it's my experience, once you've been seasick on a trip and you recover, you're typically not going to get seasick a second time, and your body kind of seems to adapt.
Yeah.
But there are tips and tricks that you can look up to helping with that stuff before you go. And I would guess that you and anyone else would say that, one, it's worth dealing with, and two, don't let it deter you from trying to go out on one of these trips.
Yeah, no. I mean, even if you have a history of it, there are really great things you can take. Dramamine is not my favorite. Like I said, the drugs I always find seem to, cause their own problems.
Right.
And the pressure point stuff that's out there now, the electronic, pressure point stuff that you can put on your wrist, really is pretty amazing and affordable at the same time. So it allows you to get out there. The big thing is, in my opinion, for me personally, eat a good meal. And for me, keeping a full stomach has always been better than an empty stomach. Trying to keep your view looking out.
At the horizon, right?
At the horizon. Stay out of the cabin. God forbid if you go down inside, that's where it all hits you really hard. So don't stay inside, stay outside.
That's I think, huge tips that I have found to be useful too when I've been out in the ocean.
Yep.
So now that we've covered the dark side of deep sea fishing, which I think the only real dark side would be the seasickness aspect of it. Being out in the middle of the ocean and 47 miles out, you can still, on a clear day, probably look back and see the shore.
You can see land barely visible.
Yeah.
Or you don't see it at all because it's stuck in the fog still.
Yeah. And it's pretty cool feeling when you are that far out in the ocean. I've been in the middle of the Pacific and not been able to see anything besides deep blue water. But it's beautiful out there, and just the experience of being on the ocean without the fishing is, I think, a pretty cool adventure. And it sounds like you've probably even had some pretty neat wildlife encounters out there.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I would say this year we had more encounters than I've ever had before. You always see whales in the distance, now and then a pod of orcas, sea lions. That's a problem in itself we can talk about. And this year going out, I saw every type of whale that there is available to see. We saw right whales, we saw humpbacks, we saw sperm whales. And we even had some pretty interesting experience with the sperm whales trying to warn off other boats to stay away from their pod. Like a big bull sperm whale was literally slapping his tail as hard as he could. It was so loud it was almost pounding through your chest. And a fishing boat was approaching that pod, and the bull started taking his tail and smashing the water as hard as he could, saying, "Back off. Don't come near us." Of course, the boats don't acknowledge that, which blows my mind because you're not supposed to approach them. And this went on for like 20 minutes straight, as hard as he could hit the water, trying to warn off this fishing boat that wanted to bring people to see him.
That's wild.
We saw that. And then orcas, we had pods. One pod came right up to us as I'm, working on getting a halibut up. This head comes right up to the edge of the boat. He's right next to my line, and his eye is just staring at me. I'm like, okay. It's pretty intimidating to see at least. Is he going to impede this movement right now, or should I back up a little further because his head is right in front of me? I mean, it's intimidating.
That's pretty cool, though. You can go on whale watching cruises, but I feel like that's pretty up close and personal.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Whales, literally are within casting distance all the time, going by in every direction.
That's awesome. So you kind of talked a little bit about the sea lions. Did you have trouble with sea lions?
Always.
What kind of trouble did the sea lions give you?
So, some of them are just out there to feed and do their own thing with the salmon. Some of them are out there to be nothing but thieves and a problem. And it's a major issue because once one sea lion targets you, he's not going to leave. So the problem is typically, and especially even if it's halibut, a sea lion will be really sneaky at a distance. He'll raise his head up and stare at the boat to see what's going on, and then he'll disappear. And if you don't notice that, you'll be reeling up a nice halibut, get it close, and you're like about ready to gaff it, and here comes the sea lion, grabs it, rips it off the hook, and just starts eating it in front of you. Extremely frustrating after putting all that time and effort into bringing them up. once that happens, he's not going to leave. So the only thing you can do now is try to find a better place to fish. And we would motor up, grab all our stuff, because if you have one, on the boat or being held by a leash in the back, he'll steal it right off the leash, and he'll come in and jump right up on the boat, literally, and pull it off the boat.
That's crazy.
It's psychotic, and they're so invasive that way. So then you'll motor up and try to take off at full throttle. And you look back behind you, and the sea lion is jumping literally 20 yards into the air to target you which way you're going, and he'll keep following you for miles.
That's wild. You wouldn't think that it'd be that big of a problem, but it's interesting whether it's bears, in the campground, or sea lions behind the fishing boat. Like, critters figure it out, right? They know where the food's at. So and they always look for that next easy meal. That's pretty interesting stuff. So once you guys get out there, you guys are targeting more than just one species. But what species are you targeting, and what's your daily bag limits?
So one of the areas we go to, and I don't mind telling you about it, it's called Swisher, and that's one area that everybody knows. I think one of the other ones is 72 Square, and all these different places you'll hear about, they're far out. Some are closer, like Swisher is not as far. Going there, that's more in the 20-mile mark where you can see land pretty good. And what we found this year was we were knees deep in salmon all the way down to, looking at the radar, from 20 feet down to 300 feet down was solid salmon. So the second you go to let a line out, it's salmon on both rods. So that's that area. And doing that, we're basically dragging trolling spoons for salmon. You're catching them constantly, reeling them as hard as you can. You can't take them out of the water till you recognize whether it's got an adipose fin or not, and you're only allowed to, keep the ones that don't have that. That gets very frustrating. We could talk about that in itself. That's another whole...
Yeah, and just real briefly, why are you looking for the adipose fin? And for listeners that don't know, I'll just briefly state it. So, when it comes to farm-raised salmon and trout, which, so salmonoids, one of the things that you can tell on a farm-raised, for lack of a better term, pen-raised, whatever it might be, fish, is that they lack an adipose fin, whereas wild trout and salmon have their adipose fin still. Adipose fin is located on the back of the fish between the dorsal fin, so the big main fin that everybody kind of knows what a dorsal fin is, right? Yeah. So it sticks out of the water on a shark, and then the tail fins. So in between the fish's tail and that dorsal fin on their back is a small fin, and that fin is called the adipose fin. So I'm assuming that you guys are looking for that because state regulations require you to not take the full wild salmon. Is that what that is?
Yeah, correct. As frustrating as that is, but here's the kick that every one of us deal with going out there is, you're allowed 2 per day. Well, you're going to go through 50 fish to find your personal 2 per day, and that's not even an exaggeration. Sometimes it's worse. So, you're fishing out there and using barbless hooks, but still your potential for injuring fish is so high, especially with those kind of conditions and that type of fishing. You're using a rod and a reel, you're bringing them in, now you're wearing the fish out, you're putting so much stress on them, and you're going through all these fish just to get your 2. Why not just keep your first 2 and call it good, rather than potentially injuring 50 fish? And, they put all that into the rules, and you got to look at the rules each year. It's different all the time. It's different for certain areas. There's just so much bureaucracy in all of it that just does not make sense.
Which is another really good reason that if you're not going with a friend that really knows what they're doing, to probably book with an outfitter. And maybe you're a local Washingtonian, Oregonian, or someone that's interested in maybe getting into this, or you already have a boat that you haven't outfitted. It's a good warning. Just even if you need to go with an outfitter initially, don't go back and cram their spots that they take you to, but just so you can start learning this stuff, because it can be complicated. Having fished out there a couple of times myself, you do have to pay attention because season dates change,
Yes.
bag limits change.
Yep. It changes all the time. Even while you're out there, it can change.
Exactly. So, that's another good reason to have an outfitter.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely makes a big difference. Have somebody that can keep you safe because there's going to be fish checkers right there at the dock when you get in.
Yeah.
Literally looking at everything you bring in.
Yeah. So, and some people might say it's really fun to catch 50 salmon because people are, I'm sure a lot of catch and release anglers are listening, but I'm sure it's fun to a point.
Yeah, it's fun to a point, but it's happening so fast. And like I said, you're just trying to get in for the day. So typically, going back to your question, like what fish are we targeting? Well, we found what always worked best if weather's permitting. Obviously, you're going to have to go with the weather. But if weather's permitting, we want to get out there fast to the far deep water and drop down because you're allowed, and here's another thing we can talk about, you're allowed 1 halibut a day. And depending on what the season is, it's typically going to be only 3 halibut. A lot of times there's an extended season. You can take 4 halibut. So now we're traveling 40 some odd miles out and 40 some odd miles back to get our 1 halibut a day. Okay, are we protecting the environment that way? I don't see how that's possible because we are wasting gas and everything else just to get out there to get our 1 halibut when we could take all 3 in one day and be done.
Right.
That would be a lot nicer, but, we got to protect the thousands that are down there. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, it would actually be really fun. I might have to do some research just to talk to a fisheries biologist out there and hear their side of, and maybe if they work for the government, they're just going to say the government knows what they're doing. But, it'd be really interesting to see what the reasoning and thought process is behind that. Because, I think as anglers, sportsmen, hunters, outfitters, guides, whatever you are, other than the biologist, we definitely tend to have our perspective of wildlife management, and I think it's fair to say most of us can be skeptical of the government's objectives and how they manage wildlife. But so you're kind of going out there to target the halibut as your first thing, and then are you working your way back to shore, targeting the other species then?
Yeah, so you start out with halibut, and I'll tell you what was working best, not afraid to say it. Everybody knows there's all different types of halibut rigs. We're using, heavy-duty rods for catching a halibut. It could be 100 pounds, it could be 20 pounds, we don't know. It could be even bigger than that. And we did all swap over to electric reels this year. I got to tell you, that was a game changer because going all the way down 700 feet and coming back up all the time with heavy pipe jigs, or any of the rigs, 4-pound weights, 5-pound weights, plus all the gear going down and bringing it back up with the fish on, it gets really exhausting. But I'd say it was worth every penny switching over to electric reels. And all of us did it because for the last 4 years, it's been harsh. So one of the best things that I see working every year, and this past year as well, was a pipe jig, which really is as simple as a 1 foot long or 2 foot long max copper pipe. And I would say, your standard diameter that you would use in your house, filled with lead, and having a treble hook hanging off the side of it so that the bottom hits without the hook first, and then you lift it back up off the bottom as soon as you hit, and keep jigging with the waves. If the waves are big enough lifting you, if not, you're lifting it. And it's heavy, so you need a heavy-duty rod because you're letting down a pipe jig that weighs, 5 pounds, 6 pounds, up to 10 pounds, whatever you can do, depending on the drift of the boat and the water currents underneath you.
Right. People might be wondering, too, with such heavy rods, electric reels attached to the boat, obviously there's an element of this fishing trip that's kind of like a harvest. Like, we're going to get out there and we're going to fill the freezer. That's goal number one.
Yep.
But from the sporting aspect of it, are you still applying technique and to fight your fish once you get on like a halibut? Since we're talking about halibut, is there still a fight, or are you just kind of dragging the fish up from the bottom?
No, there's still a technique to it. I mean, what I can tell you personally, when you get that pipe jig on, and I still think that's one of the best, you can tip that hook per se. What we'll use is we'll catch smaller trout during the early season, like your smaller 6 to 10 inch trout. brine them ahead of time so that when we get to the August time frame, the end of August to go out, we have bags full of brined smaller trout that we'll cut up into chunks. Put a piece of that, on that treble hook. And it's amazing why they even go after these pipe jigs, but they do. And, as soon as they hit, let the rod bend down. Don't be trying to set a hook. And you're using usually 60-pound braid. You might put a trailer on it as well in case you get hooked on the bottom with maybe like a 20-pound monofilament so that if you have to break off, you can and not lose 600 yards or 600 feet of expensive braided line.
No kidding.
So that's important too. And anyway, so when they hit, let the rod bend down, make sure that, because they're aggressive on their bite. They don't care what it looks like. They're going to grab it, they're going to bite, they're going to chew, they're going to get hooked. Then your rod's going to go down. Then you start reeling up. And then the challenge and the fight is there to keep tension on it the whole time. Sometimes they might try to swim with you, which a benefit of electric rod is it's going to run too and keep up.
Right.
Whereas when you're trying to reel up, that's really hard to do. And then as they get near the surface, electric rod will stop 9 feet short automatically, which is really nice. And then you're reeling up, and you want to have a gaff. You also want to have a harpoon. If you end up with a 60 to 70-pound fish on the other end, you'll know right away when you're bringing it up as well as when it gets close. You don't ever let them touch the top of the water because then they'll lose their mind and take off running. So let them stop right there. And if it's, your 40 to 30-pound range fish, you can gaff them and bring them in. If it's a much bigger fish where we've seen, 70 to 120-pounders, that's where you want to have a harpoon.
And a gaff is what? It's essentially a big staff with like a fixed metal hook on the end of it, right?
Yeah, a good sharp, hard-turned hook that you can reach down and gaff that fish.
Gotcha.
And bring them right in.
And then a harpoon is what you would picture a harpoon looking like.
Yeah, it's like literally a handmade harpoon that once you stab that fish, it's got about 100 feet of cord on it too. And when it's a big fish like that, you're going to let them run. Just for safety factors as well. If you get a big enough fish, it's a well-established fact that you can bring that fish in, and if that giant piece of meat that is nothing but muscle flexes, snaps you in the head, it'll break your neck.
That's insane. I mean, it's hard to picture like fishing being dangerous because of the fish, but that's pretty wild. Kind of like some. The stuff that they write books about, right?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
I just picture like the old-time whalers from the 1800s and 1700s and stuff, but that sounds like some pretty intense few moments when that bigger fish is coming up.
Oh, it can be fun, yeah. And then while you're in the halibut range, you tend to be also in the lingcod, and lingcod are amazing too. They're a long eel-shaped body. The head is huge. I would say, 20, 30 pounders were pretty good this year. And it's nothing but a giant mouthful of teeth. They eat whatever they want, including each other. So when they get on the hook, they're pretty intense. And that's another fish. Again, you don't want to bring them up to the surface. You want to stop a few feet short so they don't freak out. If you bring any of these fish to the top, they lose their minds. They can unhook really fast.
Right. It's kind of like I feel like when you and I are fishing trout on the lake and they see the boat, all of a sudden they might have swam with you the whole time,
right? And
you're like, "Is this even a decent sized fish?" All of a sudden they see the boat, and then you're, "Oh, this is a really decent fish."
Yeah.
Hard, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's pretty.
So
cool.
you're gonna get your one halibut, and you're tagged for that, and then immediately you're fishing for lingcod, and we can always find a drift that'll get you into one or the other. And, of course, Bruce has been making marks over the years. He can go to his mark within a few feet, and it tends to be very accurate from the years before, depending on what the bottom structure is. And if you know the bottom structure and you have your marks out there, we're able to go straight to the halibut, bang, it's happening, get the halibut in the boat, be done, which usually takes an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how thick they are on the bottom, how big of a fish you're catching. If they're smaller, we're letting them go. And we're trying to get that bigger fish in the 40-pound range. Man. And then jump right into the lingcod, which is another drift.
That does not sound boring at all.
It's not.
So I'm going to take a quick break here. So we're about 30 minutes in, and then we'll get right back to it. So I'm just going to hit the pause button.
Twice as caught him.
Okay, looks like we're recording again. Good. So, anyways, back from our short break, and we just got done kind of talking about finding the fish, the marks, the bottom structure. So, are your lingcod rigs different than what you're using for the halibut? And do you sometimes catch them both as bycatch when you're fishing one or the other?
So, again, there are many different types of rigs you can look up to see what people are using. But honestly, jigs overall are very productive. They're much easier to use. They're, different weights and sizes. So I would really focus on jigs, to be honest with you. And I hate to say it, but the pipe jigs are amazing. Craziest thing as it is. But those the copper pipe jigs just seem they can't be beat year after year. And to be honest, you're going to find both fish in the same general area, but they do seem to tend to be like you're in halibut, and then you're in lingcod, you're in lingcod.
Gotcha.
What you will find in both places are different types of other larger species of rockfish, and those are fantastic eating as well. You'll end up getting a lot of yellow eyes, they call them, which is another type of rockfish where it has bulging yellow eyes when you bring them up to the top, and those are an endangered species and you have to send them back down. So it's also important to have the proper devices to be able to return the fish to that depth, because you're not just going to unhook and let them go. You just pulled them up from 400 feet down. They're now blown up, and their swim bladders are hanging out of their mouths. So you basically have to deflate that swim bladder and then have the proper devices, which you can look up. There's many types. They're a little pricey, but they're worth their money to do things right and put the fish back to the bottom so we can continue to live.
Right, and that's just because of the pressure, obviously. But some people just everyone understands like this has to do with the pressure changes on the there on the bottom of the ocean or under the water, right? So like 400 feet, obviously, it's just like you trying to swim to the bottom of the pool. You can feel your ears need to pop, and vice versa on your way back up, or even when we go to altitude. So want to make sure that we're saving those fish.
Yeah, it's important. Certain ones are very endangered, and yellow eyes are one of them. And it's pretty obvious when you bring them up, they have yellow eyes.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so lingcod, awesome, fun to catch. It's rare to see them so big, but when you're in them big, which, we have a few marks that we know to go out to, it's been consistent year after year. So Bruce is really good about knowing where he's going when he's out there, just like the other people I've talked about. They know exactly where these fish are, and they have their marks.
That's awesome. So you're coming home. At the end of the day, you're potentially going to have 2 salmon, 1 halibut. How many lingcod can you keep?
I think it's still 4 lingcod each, I think is what it was when we were out there, and then I think up to like 8 of the rockfish.
That seems like, per person, a ton of pounds of fish to bring home for 1 day of fishing.
Yeah.
So you were out there for 4 days this time?
Yeah, 4 days. 3 days of fishing, 4 days overall.
Gotcha. So how many pounds of fish did you come home with this year?
God. I'd say probably 150 pounds of filleted fish.
This is what I can tell you, folks, about John when it comes to filling his freezer with fish, and also beef. Because one of these days we'll talk about the carnivore stuff, and John getting into good local grass-fed organic farm beef. But there's been a couple of times where I've benefited from John trying to make room in his freezer for the ridiculous amounts of fish he's going to bring home.
It's crazy. I mean, and here's another thing we got to talk about too. On your way out to these places, you got to make sure you have a very large cooler. Your classic larger igloo cooler is perfectly fine. It's also really important on your way out to stop and fill that cooler with shaved ice. Saltwater shaved ice is preferred. We filled 5 giant coolers with saltwater shaved ice, which is now going to stay really cold. It's going to last. It doesn't just melt into water overnight or within even 4 days. And so going out there, we made sure we stop way before you get out to the point, because if you don't do that long ahead of time, you get out there, you're going to find pretty much that these ice machines are empty, And they're the bigger ones, with a trough that's going to dump it from a house that's got it all shaved.
Where are you getting? I've never personally heard of saltwater shaved ice. Where are you getting that from?
Well, numerous places you'll find on the way out. There's a few reservation stops on the way out that you'll see. You go inside the gas station and tell them you want X amount of shaved ice, and they'll be like, no problem. They go out there, and there's a big house in the back with all the big freezers in it that are producing this or using salt water. And then the machine will drop the pipe down, and you bring out all of your coolers, and the stuff will just start dumping out of a trough. And so you're filling up these coolers over a period of time, and when you get done, then you pay for it. And I mean, I think out of 5 giant coolers, plus the one on the boat, it was like $24.
Gotcha. That's cool. So, yeah, you're coming home with a ton of fish.
Yeah.
That's great. So, and you had the adventure of going out in the ocean, seeing all kinds of cool wildlife, hanging out with buddies. So there's probably the camaraderie aspect of it too, right?
Oh, it's huge. But I got to tell you, I swear, every time I do this, I say to myself when I'm done with the trip, man, I'm never doing this again. Because it's so much work, and it really is hard work. It's not just a fun fishing trip. It's the grocery store fishing trip because you're filling your house and your freezer full of food. But you're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You're getting the boat prepared. You're driving out, which can be very grueling. You're fishing in very difficult conditions and weather, potentially. And you're going from one fish to the next fish. You're getting your quota. Then you're motoring back in for 2 hours. You get in. You clean and fish for a couple hours. You get done with that. You're putting everything on ice. You get back. It's 8 o'clock at night. You're eating. You're going to sleep. And you're getting back up to do it again.
Which is another excellent reason to go with an outfitter, because they're going to fillet and pack all that fish for you and do all that. So, don't let that deter you, because, again, if you want to just experience it, get in one of the local outfitters out there. They'll cover all that hard work for you. You just get to fish.
Yeah.
You do have to get up early, and you do have to ride on the boat for a long time.
Yes, you do. I mean, so that is the benefit of, getting an outfitter. You're going to have all that being done for you, packaged, vacuum packed right there in the boat most of the time, if not on the shore. And, yeah, but make sure that you bring a big cooler and make sure you have a lot of ice, because you don't want this to get warm in any way whatsoever, or you're going to lose everything you're bringing home.
That's awesome. Well, it sounds like that was a great adventure. And, full disclosure, you turned down fly fishing school to go deep sea fishing, and I did the opposite. I once again turned down poor Bruce. And Bruce, if you ever do end up listening to this, I'm sorry, buddy. It's not personal. One of these days I really want to take you up on it. I'm eternally grateful for the invite. But yeah, I did book the fly fishing guide school instead, just in the direction that I'm trying to take my outdoor life and career. But I'm really looking forward to the day where I finally do get to come out and go through some of that grueling effort with you and come home with some of that saltwater fish that I know was tasting amazing.
Yeah, and I'll put a pitch out there for my buddy Bruce. He is amazingly generous, man. He's generous with his boat. Every time we go out, I swear, ends up spending $1,000 on something that broke. So, we're all there to help out, and we all chip in, and we spread the wealth with the gas and everything else. But, the fact that he's willing to go through this, drag his boat all the way out there, sleep on the boat at night, which really isn't fun. It's not like he's got a big bunk or anything. He's washing everything down at the end of every evening while we're back cooking food for him. He's rinsing all the reels, getting the salt off of everything, putting everything back in order, getting ready for the next morning, grabbing some hours of sleep. Then he's up ahead of us. The boat's ready to go. We walk out there. So, Bruce, thank you. Thank you so much for your generosity and your kindness.
Yeah. Yeah, no, good adventure. Thanks for sharing. And I just, it's just one of those things. There's so many things to do in the outdoors, and we'll get started with this podcast. It's all about going out and experiencing new things, pushing your boundaries, finding the adventures wherever you are. And maybe you're a young military guy that just got stationed in Western Washington with the Navy, Marine Corps, Army, whatever it be, Air Force. I mean, it's all out there. You can shoot me an email. You can look up at John's Instagram, and we'd be happy to point you in the direction. Outfitters, we know outfitters in Nia Bay. We know outfitters that do salmon fishing, outside of the Seattle area.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options out there, and I just really would love to see people go out there and experience the fishing that the ocean has to offer, because as much as we may or may not be fans of a lot of things about Washington State, the beauty that the state has to offer out there on the ocean is unparalleled in a lot of ways, and there is a huge bounty under there that's worth the effort to go get it. So I would highly encourage people that are interested to reach out to us with questions. You can reach me on my Instagram, Pursuing Freedom Outdoors, John, Northwest Spur Chasers.
Put a video out that shows one of these trips too. If you ever want to watch it, it's on the YouTube channel. So it's a good idea.
Even better, watch the video. And then you can also reach me at Thomas at pursuingfreedomoutdoors.com with questions. So, we'll probably move on just a little bit. I was going to talk a little bit about the Fly Fishing Guide School. People are probably tired of hearing me talk about Fly Fishing Guide School, but, we did do the one episode with my fellow students. I'm going to do an episode with Corey, but, I just wanted to take a minute, and John, feel free to jump in, ask questions or whatever, but just brief my experience and how it was, because I think it's an awesome thing. I really want, especially veterans that are still having some GI Bill benefits that they can use.
Heck yeah.
Or also Voc Rehab will also pay for this. But so I went to the Sweetwater Guide School. It's out on the Bighorn River. I got in contact with Corey, who is the director for the school. He's a full-time employee with the Sweetwater Travel Company. Decades of guiding experience in Alaska, Montana, Oregon. He's a wealth of knowledge. And he also brought out a couple of other instructors. I think there was 2 other instructors, and then we also had a younger fellow that came and helped out a little bit. But he was out guiding trips for Sweetwater as well. So, and the other main instructors were Bradley and Callan. And my shout out to all of those involved in that school. It was awesome. But Corey did all the heavy lifting. Once I reached out to him and said, hey, I want to go to the school. I have a little bit of GI Bill benefit left I'd like to use if possible. I didn't really have to lift a finger. A few things that he needed me to get for him, and he did the rest. And he got me enrolled in the school. He got the VA part of it handled, and I just got to go to the school. Being the post 9/11 GI Bill that I was using, I got paid BAH to go to the school, and because it was the end, and I had paid into the Montgomery, ended up with a $1,200 paycheck at the end of it too. So I think I ended up getting paid, not to brag, but just it's something to think about for those that might have a little bit of benefit left, whether or not you've gone to school on it already. I think I ended up getting paid like close to $1,700 to go to the school that normally would cost $3,600 to go to for the week. The school is 7 days. I showed up Saturday night, and then the school was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we took off Saturday morning after an exit interview. The crew works their butts off to go grocery shopping and do a quick turnover on all the rooms. And then they're back at it with another cruise Saturday night for another week. Every day included fishing. To include showing up Saturday evening, they have an easy dinner ready for you Saturday with a room if you show up Saturday night. They'll help you figure out airport transport if you're flying in. And when you show up Saturday, they tell you right away, hey, if you want to set up, there's great fishing right outside the lodge that we stayed at. We stayed at one of Sweetwater's lodges on the Bighorn River in eastern Montana. I showed up that night and went out in the river and ended up catching my first fish of the trip just out there outside the lodge. Nice little brown. It was my first brown on a fly rod. You start off the adventure right. The next morning you wake up, there's breakfast, a little bit of an orientation, and then you go out and start fishing for the afternoon. And every day they rotate you through one of the different instructors, and you get to get some drift boat experience. You get some jet boat experience with your tiller steered jet boat. So you got, which is great. So you're getting experience rowing, you're getting experience working the jet boat in the river. And the jet boat's cool in my perspective because Corey, who runs that part of it, he's just trying to get you geared up for Alaska in case that's something that you want to go do if you want to go guide in Alaska.
Awesome.
The drift boat stuff is really lower 48 focused. There are some drift boat fisheries that you can go work at in Alaska, but it's just way more common to be on a jet boat up there, and that's just because of the remoteness and the access, right? Typically, you need a vehicle at a pickup and a takeout for a drift boat, and Alaska's not full of that. A lot of times, you're actually getting flown out to a place where they are a jet boat waiting for you, and so you'll fly in, jet boat downriver, and then you'll fish for a while, and then you'll jet boat back to the pre-designated pickup point with the plane. And that's usually how a day at a fishing lodge will happen, and at least I think with the Sweetwater ones out in Alaska. But yeah, so that's kind of what that's focused on, and I personally really dug that because obviously anybody that knows me, I'm obsessed with all things Alaska. But every day included fishing. It starts off where the instructors the first couple of days are your guides, and you're kind of just learning by watching them guide and talk about what they do, and it's cool because you're the fisherman.
Nice.
So you're catching fish, and I mean, and these are great fish on the Bighorn. It's a world class trout fishery.
Heck yeah, well known.
Yeah, catching huge rainbows, huge brown trout. And then as the week progresses, you've gotten some fly casting instruction, you've gotten some rowing instruction, how to work with
stuff too.
Yep. There's a fly tying class where you tie some patterns, and so you get to go out. And I got to catch my first fish on a fly that I tied, which is pretty cool.
Awesome.
And so by the end of it, you take all the skills they teach you, which includes the rowing, the client working with clients, how to find fish, how to read the river. All of the above, everything fly fishing related. You get to put it all together, and you start guiding the instructors and your fellow students all the way to what they call Final Friday, where you and your fellow students kind of get to take turns running the show, which was cool because we had one of our instructors, Bradley, had a birthday while we were there. So I think it was our Final Friday too, where we got to catch him his birthday fish. It was a really cool experience. And
you do a lot of safety stuff too?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. There is definitely a ton of boat safety, especially with the jet boat side of things, and all that gets covered. And then on top of that, the last thing you do at class is you get first aid and CPR certified.
Nice.
Yep, which is required by pretty much all states to be a guide, whether you're fishing or hunting. So that was really, really, really cool. And because they take the GI Bill, about 90% of my class was veterans. So, whether or not you want to be a guide, doesn't really matter. You could come to this school and go just because you want to become a better angler, which I think, John, that was kind of your motivation. Was
I planned on being in the school with Tom, but then the dates got flipped and I couldn't, it was one or the other.
Yeah.
I can still go back. I still plan on going back at some point. And just the fact that you're going to go get that firsthand knowledge that a guide would be getting in a school that you can apply to your own life. It's crazy not to take advantage of it.
Yeah, $3,600 if you don't have GI Bill gets you a full week of food, lodging, and fishing on one of the bigger, most famous trout fisheries out there, right? And the Bighorn River is special because it's good most of the year, and it's that way because it's the tailwater of the yellowtail lake, I think is what it is. And that tailwater, what that means is the tailwater is where the part of the river that's beneath the dam, right? So they release water out of the lake, and then it creates the flow in that part of the river. And the reason that it's nice on the Bighorn is because they're doing the dam is feeding from the bottom of the dam. So that's letting all that really cold water off the bottom of the lake feeds the river. So even in the summer, when parts of Montana have what they call hoot owl restrictions, which just means that you can't fish between certain hours of the day when it gets too hot because it's not safe for the fish. Again, whole other conversation. You can still fish the Yellowstone generally because it's always cool water, especially when they release more water out of the dam. and because it's, it gets pretty warm in the summer, it's just really good bug hatches. There's constantly bugs in the water, lots of food. So these fish have perfect water temperatures year round for the most part, lots of food, and they just get huge. It just makes for big fish in this fishery. That's what makes the bighorn special. And it does get busy, but there's plenty of fish to catch. And it was a really good time.
So not only do you have epic fish to catch, you're getting a week-long school that's guided. I don't know if anyone who hasn't had a guide service take them out, the difference in price compared to what you paid and what you would pay for a guide on a daily basis for a week plus tips, you're making money.
Yeah, I mean, they don't accept tips at the guide school because it's a school setting. They absolutely do not accept tips. And yeah, for what you would pay, I haven't looked up the lodge rates for the Sweetwater, but if I were to guess, just with any lodge, or if you were just going to book a guide for $700 every day, pretty quickly you're going to save some money, and you're going to get the best. Like you said, not only are you getting to participate in great fishing, but you're learning how to become a better angler.
Yep.
You're learning how to find fish and read the water, and to figure out the right depth to catch fish. All right, hey, this looks like a good piece of fishing water. Now, what depth do I fish it at? How much weight do I put on my nymph rig to get to match the flow of the water speed and stuff like that? It's all stuff that you really get dialed in. And I can tell you, coming back and
prices,
taking people out of Protector's Peak, finding fish way faster, getting way more fish, just bringing home some of that basic knowledge that you learn there. It's a good time. So really, really enjoyable adventure. Met a lot of great people. We had a ton of veterans in there, and then even the folks that weren't veterans, lifelong friends. We all stay in touch still. Even it's only been a month, but not quite. But we all still stay in touch all the time. We're sending each other fishing pictures, like, oh, look what I caught. Everyone's got new skills. They can't wait to go. One really cool couple, Dan and Sue, that were there. They weren't on the podcast that we did, but they were a retired couple, sold a big ranch in California. They live out in Oregon now, and as a couple, their goal is just to go out and travel and fish as many places in the world as they can. And so they just wanted to up their fishing game.
There you go.
And it's been really fun getting pictures of them fishing different parts of the country lately, and watching them find success, especially Sue. She's just an amazing lady and very giving people. So, you get to make a lot of friends. The staff is amazing. The dinners that they cook every night are great food. They're great chefs, which is part of being a good guide. And when you work in a lodge, you got to usually wear many hats, so you're going to be a cook too. Good show. It was a good time. Just a good adventure out in a part of the country I'd never been to.
Amazing.
So, I just wanted to give a quick rundown on that, just so it may hopefully fill in any blanks for people that were wondering what we were talking about when I was talking with my fellow students in the last podcast we did about it. And again, just to kind of tee up when Corey comes on the podcast. So, John, when we release this, I'll probably do it in 2 parts. I'll just do this as a short episode. The second half, we'll do the deep sea thing.
Sure.
For sure, as a standalone. But we might even hold on to this just for the week before Corey comes on. But it was great. So
it was great to meet Corey. I'm just pretty excited about that again. Still,
meet Nate. We met Nate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Corey's out in Montana. But it was great to meet Nate. It was good morning. Lots of good stuff to talk about, and lots of good stuff to look forward to.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. Well, more to come, and appreciate everybody for listening. Please, as always, like, share, subscribe, follow. Give me some feedback. I haven't gotten enough feedback yet. I'd like to get some comments, good or bad. Tell me what you would like to hear topic-wise, improvements, what we're doing good. Just let us have it, the good, bad, and the ugly. Thanks, everybody. Till next time.
Thanks again. And if this resonates with you, I want to welcome you to the tribe and encourage you to share this podcast with your friends. Hit subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Pursuing Freedom Outdoors. And if you or someone you know has a great story about life or the wilderness, I want to share it. You can shoot me a message on Instagram or email me with all inquiries and questions at thomas@pursuingfreedomoutdoors.com. That's Thomas, Thomas, at pursuingfreedomoutdoors.com. Until next time, get out there, get after it, and pursue freedom in the outdoors.